What's going on, everyone? Brian from Drywall Nation here. Welcome back to our educational series with level 5 tools. In this video, we're going to be talking about mud consistency and what kind of consistency you should be looking for when you're running your flat box. So let's talk about what type of joint compound you should be using when you're running your flat boxes. So this is a completely different setup than your automatic taper. When you're applying tapes with an automatic taper, you want to make sure that you're using taping mud because it needs that glue to bond the tape to the wall. When you're using your flat boxes, you want to use an all-purpose or a lightweight mud because you don't want that glue, your coating. Glue is going to result in having pinholes or bubbles in the mud, so an all-purpose or lightweight mud is what is recommended when you're running flat boxes. Now let's talk about joint compound consistency. There are pros and cons to both thick and thin mud. So let's start with thin mud. If you're using thin mud, you can see like this one here, you can see it's a lot runnier than, say, for example, this one over here that's a little thicker. So it's not running as much. So with thin mud, you'll notice it's a lot easier on the body to physically push. You're not sweating as much. It doesn't feel like as much of a workout. However, with thin mud, you're more likely to get drag marks at the start of a run. That's because the mud is so thin, it's easy to push out the box. So as you're applying pressure to the box on the ceiling or against the wall, that mud rolls over on the back of the trowel bar. And then as you take off, you get kind of like Christmas trees, as people call them, in your line. It's dragging down the wall for the first few inches. If you're getting a lot of Christmas trees or a lot of drag, that's because your mud is too thin. So that's one of the cons of thin mud. It's easier to push, however, you will get more drag marks at the start of a run. Another con is that because your mud is so watered down, it's going to shrink back a lot more as it dries. So that's one of the pros of thick mud, is if your mud is thicker, there's less moisture, there's less humidity in the air, there's going to be less shrinking because there's less water. So obviously thicker mud is a little harder to push. There's more resistance on your body, more resistance against the trowel bar. So it's a little harder to push. However, you're less likely to get those drag marks at the start of a run, and you're going to get much less shrinking. So it really comes down to personal preference. There's no right or wrong way when it comes to your joint compound consistency. It's what works best for you and yields the best results on your job sites. As we just went over, there are pros and cons to both thick and thin mud, so try what works best for you. One more thing I want to note, you can use setting compounds or hot muds like Durbond, sheetrock, easy sand, light sand. You can use those products through your flat boxes. However, make sure to keep a close eye on it. Don't let the material set up and get hard in the flat box, because then it's a real pain in the butt to clean, and it dries out your seals. So make sure to clean your box thoroughly and lubricate it after you're done if you're using setting compounds or hot muds. So I hope that video was helpful. For more tips and tricks on how to run flat boxes, check out the rest of our educational series with level 5 tools. Thanks for watching.